Hi everyone, I'm Dr. David Wackenfeld, the Chief Scientist at the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, and I'm here with the latest in our series of weekly reef health updates. As we said last week, we have begun to conduct aerial surveys of coral bleaching on the Great Barrier Reef. These surveys are being led by the ARC Centre of Excellence for Coral Reef Studies, and we also have an observer on that plane with them. The good news is that the first 2 days of surveys, which have looked at offshore reefs from about Cairns up into the Torres Strait, have found little or no coral bleaching, which is great news over that very extensive reef area. And those findings match very closely with what we've seen from the satellites in terms of the accumulated heat stress on reefs in that area. These results from the aerial surveys are also backed up by recent observations from the tourism industry in the same part of the reef, and we've got some great underwater images showing that this part of the reef is doing really well. Now, we do also have some observations from a much smaller number in some areas in the north and far north of more coastal reefs, and those coastal reefs do have more bleaching, some moderate, a small number with severe bleaching. But at the moment, very few reefs in that sort of area have been surveyed, and we're going to be doing more surveys of those reefs to get a clearer picture today and tomorrow. After very high temperatures and the accumulation of a lot of thermal stress through February and into the first week of March, tropical cyclone Gretel and other weather systems caused quite a lot of cooling from about the 10th of March onwards. And we can see that signal both in the satellite images that we have monitoring temperature, but also in the Australian Institute of Marine Science loggers and the Integrated Marine Observing System gliders. Everything is showing us that there has been cooling on the Great Barrier Reef in the last week to 10 days. As a consequence of that cooling, most of the Great Barrier Reef at the moment is only very slightly above average temperatures for March, so somewhere between 0 and 1 degree above average, which is great. What that means is that there is probably little or no further heat stress on corals accumulating from now moving forward. So what we're looking at is the consequences of the heat stress we've already had that's accumulated through summer that has already caused bleaching, and that's why the aerial surveys are so important. Today and tomorrow, the aerial surveys are going to focus on more coastal reefs in the far north between the Torres Strait and Cairns. And then next week, the aerial surveys will focus on the central and southern Great Barrier Reef. Now, many of those areas have received more thermal stress than the offshore reefs surveyed over the last 2 days. So we are expecting that we will see more moderate and severe bleaching, at least on some reefs, in the coming days. Thanks very much for listening. I'll see you next week.